Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Kristen Roca and I am the Executive Director of the Orchestra Now, otherwise known as TŌN. TŌN is a unique pre-professional orchestra and master's degree program that is located at Bard College in the beautiful Hudson Valley in New York. It was designed to help young musicians face the challenges of a modern symphony orchestra. The members of TŌN are a vibrant group of young musicians that come from across the globe who are introducing orchestral music and making it relevant to the 21st century audience. We created TŌN-ality as a way for you to get a chance to meet these young musicians personally. Joining me are my colleagues Leonardo Panetta and Andras Rivas, and together we'll pull back the curtain on these young musicians' lives. Join us as we show you their TŌN-ality.
On this episode of TŌN-ality, we introduce you to oboist James Kim. James was born in Seoul, South Korea. His mother was an opera singer, and she also taught voice lessons, so he was surrounded by music while growing up. As a child, he played the violin and piano, but was not too serious about his music. He'd always wanted to play a wind instrument, so at the age of 15, he was attracted by the unique sound of the oboe. He felt something special in its sound that moved the listener's heart. And here is where his musical journey began.
I think I have learned important musical and non-musical things from all of my teachers. I feel I am very blessed to meet such great teachers in my life. I only got to study 1 year with the legendary oboist John Mack, as he passed away after my first year at Juilliard. As I wanted to pursue my career as an orchestral musician, I thought TŌN would be the perfect place to learn and have the feeling of how professional orchestra musicians deal with their ongoing concert schedule.
When James became a member of TŌN, he also became a father. His son Philip was born during James's second year with the program. Leonardo sat down with James to get a further insight into his life and his music.
Hey James, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Hi Leonardo, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Great. I can help it but to remember many concerts that we have shared together in the orchestra, and looking for the violin sections and seeing you playing solos and switching in the section. Would you tell us about a memorable experience playing in the orchestra in TŌN, or if you have several that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, there were so many wonderful concerts at TŌN. I just really, really loved playing with wonderful conductors and colleagues. But there were probably more than one concert. It's very memorable and stands out. I would say Bizet Symphony with Maestro James Bagwell, and also it's more recent, but Schubert Symphony Number 9 with Maestro Hans Graf. But if I have to pick one, then it would have to be Brahms Violin Concerto with Maestro Leon Bachstein. And the violinist was a winner of the concerto competition at Bach Conservatory, who is now with TŌN. But yeah, that piece, Brahms Violin Concerto, although it's a violin concerto, the second movement, the beginning, first couple of minutes is almost like oboe concerto. Every oboist have to play this piece for excerpt for all different kind of auditions.
Right.
So we practice all the time, but it's very rare to have this chance to perform in the live performance setting. And I feel very, very fortunate to have this chance to play. And I remember first couple of rehearsals, it was very nerve-wracking because
I bet.
I finally uh, have this
Opportunity.
moment.
Hmm.
And but at the real performance, both times, because we performed twice, once in Saturday and Sunday afternoon, I enjoyed so much. It was so comforting, and the music itself is really welcoming. Like the chorale, wonderful woodwind chorale, just like sets up the mood, and yeah, I feel very welcomed. And once I start playing this high A, and it's like just wonderful, like very dreamy and glorious. And personally, it was my prayer to God, and it was just like so wonderful. And it feels like this time has stopped and very
Wow.
quiet. So it was just very glorious and wonderful. I would probably never forget that moment, and I still can remember how I felt on stage, both performances. So that is for sure the most memorable concert.
Wow, James, that's beautiful. I'm already missing playing on a stage, and this makes it a lot, a lot worse. Um, I'm wondering what um, composers do oboe players and woodwind players really want to play.
For me personally, I immediately think about Bach and Schumann. Robert Schumann knew oboe very well, and how to use oboe to bring out the tone, and it's very natural. I know Schumann wrote a lot of vocal vocal piece, but it's very singing. And for myself, I personally think singing is very close to oboe playing. My mom is a professional opera singer, and actually, she was very helpful. She gave me some lessons, and I was surprised that singing is quite similar to playing an oboe, like how to make the tone, and it's all about using the resonance and how to maximize the resonance, using our
Interesting.
body, and everything.
Mhm.
It's very similar. So I think I feel playing Schumann pieces, it's always very natural and very yeah. I love his melodies. It's just so wonderful.
So great.
Sure.
We're talking about Brahms for the violin
Hmm.
concerto, Schumann, and then
Hmm.
Bach. It's
Hmm.
it's like a cycle that is all connected because of the relationship that Brahms and Schumann had, and
Right.
the influence of early music. But James, we also want to know, when was the decisive moment in playing the oboe? When was it that you said, as a student, all right, I want to do this seriously?
Yeah. So normally, musicians have this transitional period from they play for fun. But for me, I didn't really have this transitional period. I almost decided right away at the beginning of starting the oboe, because I started playing the oboe fairly late, actually very late, when I was 15. I always wanted to play some kind of woodwind instrument, and I didn't know about oboe until then. And then I went to this concert. It was probably one of my very first orchestra concerts. Of course, I listened to a lot of recordings or broadcasts of orchestra playing, but it was the very first time going to a real live performance, and that's when I first found out about oboe. Like it was sitting in the middle and giving an A to tune the whole orchestra, and I was like, "What's that instrument?" Like my teacher back then in Korea, he mentioned about arts high school. Like if you if you want to be a serious musician, you have to
Then you have to
then you have to
do.
go to the arts high school.
That's amazing. I bet you weren't aware that you would have to make reeds.
No.
Tell,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that, because it plays a very important role in oboe playing, right?
Yes. So I actually found out about this reed making. I mean, I knew uh, that oboes have to make reeds, but I never knew if this is too hard and takes so
Right.
much time to really learn it. My teacher kind of made reeds for me, so I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
to deal with it, and
Okay.
that's why, yeah, I only knew about the playing part of the oboe, but being an oboist, it doesn't mean you only can just play. You also have to make a reed, which takes so much of your sound.
It seems like time consuming, and I now wonder, when we are rehearsing and performing every other week, and taking auditions and all of that, and now you have a family, you have a beautiful son. When did you practice, James?
hmm So my son Philip has born in 2018. That was during my first year at TŌN. First couple of weeks, it was chaotic. My wife and I had to sleep whenever we could. It's like I don't remember. I think we have to get up like every 30 minutes or something. Like, um, so it was very difficult for that very first couple of weeks. But then after that, I think things got better, and we did have some help from outside. Since then, like I really had to learn how to use my time more efficiently, and especially making reads because um, making reads, uh, I used to have a lot of errors and a lot of trials, just trying different things. But then I had to be more efficient with that. So I had to be quicker making reads and also making less mistakes.
That's great. James, we're about to hear a piece that you recorded. Would you tell us a little bit about the piece itself?
Mhm. Yeah, it's a piece by C.P. Bach, one of J.S. Bach's sons, and it was originally written for solo flute. The original key is in A minor, which is the version that I played. I feel like different key has different feelings, even though it's exactly same music. It's very, very dramatic, and in a way, it's played by one instrument, but there are some parts that it feels like it's played by two instruments. Like um, C.P. Bach wrote the music so wonderfully. He put some bass note and then very high notes, different dynamics. So this gives listeners that it feels like played by two different instruments.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a very dramatic piece, I would say.
Looking forward to hear it, James. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Tune in next time for the next tonality.